Hello, I'm Delusion Dispeller, and the name of this video is Victims with Victims. The reason I called it that is that narcissists really are victims in a sense. They were victims of childhood traumas, abuse, neglect, and possibly being treated as the star child of the family. So they really are victims. However, being that as it may, does not mean you should allow them to victimize you. Because even if, as my daughter told me yesterday, my oldest daughter, even if somebody is mentally ill or has personality disorder, they still need to be held accountable. So we can't say, oh, well, the poor narcissists are victims, and just say, well, we just have to stay with them and forgive them every time they do something mean to us. No, they have to be held accountable for it. And like I always tell you, if you can get away from it, all the better. If you can't, then you need to set boundaries. You need to stick to those boundaries. You also need to make people aware that the person you're living with is a narcissist or your friend is a narcissist, so that they understand, why you may be upset one day because of something they did, or why you're so angry, or why you're almost suicidal, or whatever. Because if you decide to stay with them, I'm telling you right now, your life is going to be a real mess. So that's why I always advise you, if you can do it safely, please remove yourself from the situation. Okay, let's talk about this victimization thing that comes from the narcissist having, believe it or not, two personalities in a sense. He has a true self and a false self, or she. I'm not purposely saying he because I believe all narcissists are men. They aren't. I've run into more women narcissists than men. But statistically, they've proven that more men, at least, are diagnosed with narcissism than women are. Women are more likely to be the borderline personality disorder people. I think it has something to do with just the way they're raised. Women have more emotional issues, and they're more outright about it. Men tend to want to be seen as having it all together, and they're raised that way a lot of times. So it kind of manifests itself in different ways in different people and different genders. Now, that being said, there are two personalities, the false self and the true self. What happens with a narcissist is that he learns to see weakness in emotion, like sadness, fear, worry, that kind of thing. He learns to see that as wimpiness, or just being kind of inadequate. So he reinvents the emotion, and narcissists tend to confuse emotions. So for instance, if he's afraid of somebody and he lashes out at them and maybe smacks them if he thinks something bad's going to happen, even if there's no proof that it will, he interprets his hitting that person as compassion. Don't expect me to explain that to you, because there is no explanation. As I always tell my friends, you can't rationalize with someone that's irrational. So they tend to confuse the emotions. In my personal case, the narcissist in my life left me crying in a room for like hours at a time. And when I asked her, why did you just leave me crying? You're a minister. You're supposed to come in and pray with me, talk with me, at least find out what's wrong. She said that by ignoring me, it was actually helping me get through whatever I was going through. And if she had confronted me and gone in and tried to comfort me, as she put it, it's the very thing I knew you needed and wanted, but I couldn't do it because it would just make you weak and dependent on me. Okay, you can process that one however you want to, but to me, if somebody I cared about was crying that much and sobbing out loud and scared, I would go in and find out why and what could I do to make them more comfortable. No, not this person. Okay, so she thought she was helping me by ignoring my cries. The other thing is, narcissists are imitators. Their false self is very good at imitating people. Part of this is called emulation. This means that they can penetrate you psychologically. They can get in your head. They know what makes you tick. As this narcissist in my life said, I know how to hurt you, and I could if I wanted to, but I don't want to. Aren't you glad? And I remember when she said this, just having this cold chill run over me, like, huh? What do you mean you know how to hurt me? Who says that? Narcissists say that. They say some of the most eerie, creepy things. It's like being in a live version of Silence of the Lambs right in front of the creepy Hannibal Lecter guy, kind of. That's what it felt like anyway. The other thing is they tend to be fake about empathy. They know how to imitate caring and being concerned. They imitate emotions in general and behaviors. In my case, this person hugged me, but it felt fake and it felt forced. It was very, first of all, she was very thin anyways, but when she held me, it wasn't like an embrace, like, oh, I love you, you're my close friend, I'm so glad you're here. It was just kind of like, this is what we do. We're friends, so we're supposed to hug each other. She had apparently watched other people hugging each other, never felt anything when she would hug other people. She probably hugged tons of people in the church where her dad was the pastor, but never felt a thing, just went through the motions, basically. So they fake compassion and empathy and other deeper feelings. This was interesting to me. As I have told you many times before, I researched things, just like anybody would, and I compile them into videos. Well, one thing I guess I hadn't thought of real intricately was that the narcissist is like a tape recorder in their mind. They actually literally record everything that you do, everything you say, every consequence that happens when you say and do things. They watch you very carefully. They are people studiers. They are very observant, and they know exactly what is going to happen when somebody says something to you. They'll know how you're going to react. They'll know if they say something a certain way that it's going to offend you. They know that if they share something with you that you're afraid of, that you're going to shriek or just be scared or upset or whatever. So they keep a mental record of this stuff to use it later on to manipulate and control you and produce fear in you and intrepidation. So they memorize you, and then what they do is they kind of calibrate your actions and your reactions, your responses, so they can manipulate you. The person in my life that was a narcissist, for instance, she knew I would never lie. I just would not lie. Now, this was online for the most part, but I did meet her in person and spend a lot of time with her at different times. So, because she knew I would never tell a lie, if she knew I had been talking to somebody, she would start pumping me for the truth. And she would say, I know you won't lie to me, girlie. So that's why I'm asking you, because you know I only ask you stuff to better myself. And because I don't want to be doing anything to hurt anybody. You know I don't want to do that. Okay, so then I would feel compelled to tell her the truth. Well, the truth might be somebody said they didn't like the way you were doing such and such. So she used that as ammo. And then later on would take the very thing that I told her somebody said about her and project it onto me. So she would twist it and say, well, I talked to so-and-so, a different person even, and they said they don't like the way you do whatever. And it would be the same exact thing I told her that somebody else told me about her. That's how they project things. They're very distorted, dysfunctional people. So another thing was, she knew I didn't like being falsely accused of things, because many times I would come to her and upset and crying, sobbing, that I got accused of something that I didn't say or didn't do, or it wasn't. For instance, I'd been accused of being a witch, being a lesbian, all kinds of stuff that wasn't true about me, and I would be upset, and I'd cry to her because she was my best friend, supposedly. So what she would do is she would mentally record that in her mind, and months later, when we split up, she went to my former best friend and said to her, oh, I think Laura's a lesbian. I think Laura's practicing witchcraft. So, see what I mean? They just store it in their memory. And yet, they have a very selective memory. So if you had a really happy moment with them, and you're talking, and all of a sudden you say, man, I remember when we went to the park, and remember that little bird we saw, how it was all colorful and whatever? They'll be like, no, I don't remember ever doing that. I think you're just making it up. I think you're misunderstanding what happened, or they'll recreate it and say, oh, that wasn't a bird, that was a rat, and I didn't like it at all, and I swatted at it, remember? And they try to actually make you come into their recreated world of what happened, when you know darn well it's not what happened. But they try to make you think that it did. And then they make you feel bad if you don't remember it their way, because it's all about what they want, what they create. There's a word for that. I'm trying to remember. Confabulation, where they make up their own version of reality, and you're supposed to just go along with it. So if they accused you of cheating on them, and a couple weeks later you're talking and you say, you know, I really never cheated on you, they might say something like, I never said you did. What are you talking about? I never accused you of anything like that. How could you think that about me, that I would be so suspicious of you? I'm not like that. You are. You know, they just like twist stuff. That's the best way I can put it. They twist things against you, and they use it and hurt you with words and things that happen. The false self is all about being the protector of the true self. They will do anything other than avoid taking responsibility, admitting that they were wrong, and making up for it in a genuine way. Oh, they'll say they're sorry, but again, that's an imitation, because they've seen that. Okay, when somebody is sorry, they say they're sorry. They might give somebody a hug. They might buy them a gift or whatever, but they don't feel any of it. They don't feel sorrow. Their false self is very strong in the sense that no matter what happens to them, the false self kind of absorbs all of it, so the true self doesn't have to feel it or embrace any of those emotions. The narcissist sees people as something you can throw away. And this is interesting, because I never thought of this. I knew about the fact that they thought that people were disposable and interchangeable, that they could replace you with somebody else easily and not have a second thought about it. What I didn't think about was that they thought people were rechargeable. In other words, like they could plug you into a wall and recharge you, literally like a battery. And in the form of, oh, well, we had a fight or whatever, and she's back now, and we're just going to pick up where we left off. They will never talk about what just happened. They will just, again, confabulate, recreate reality as if we just started over, we just met. And they can literally, mentally treat you as if they never knew you, and all of a sudden, everything's new again. And in a way, that's a good thing in your mind, because you're thinking, oh good, everything in the past is forgotten, we can just go on from here. But to the narcissist, this is a defense mechanism. Again, so they don't have to accept blame, they don't have to embrace the fact that they really hurt you. So now they're going to try to pretend nothing ever happened and move on forward as if it didn't. Okay. The false self is a pretender. It tries to be the true person, but you're looking at this narcissist and you're saying, okay, what I see is not really what I'm getting. And you're right, it's not, and it won't be. The false self feels very superior to everybody, very entitled. The law does not apply to them. The rules at work do not apply to them. The rules of marriage do not apply to them. They don't have to pay the bill on time, because, after all, the bill collectors are just bluffing anyways. They really can't do anything to me if I don't pay the bill. That kind of thing. Entitlement. The false self is very charming. They feel like nobody can resist them, and they may even say that. In my case, the narcissist said, look at that guy over there. Look at the way he's staring at me. All the guys look at me. They all think that I'm like some kind of sex object or something, and I really hate it. But I might look over there, and the guy's not even staring her direction. But the false self is telling her to put herself out there as if everybody just wants to be like her and envies her and is after her and whatever. Okay, they are very charming people. Their false self is very charming, and it creates object constancy with the narcissistic victim. So what they do is they woo you at first. They bring you flowers, they bring you gifts, they find out exactly what your likes and dislikes are, and they're very careful to avoid the things that bother you, but also very careful to grant you the things that they know will thrill you to pieces. So they're very manipulative like that. And the reason they do this is because they don't want you to leave. They're not done with you yet. They haven't secured all the supply source from you that they can, all the adulation and affirmation and adoration and, oh, look at her, she's so amazing. They want you to praise them. They want you to adore them. They want you to want to be like them. And yet they're going to resent you if you're anything like them, kind of weird and twisted again, but the narcissist is a very twisted, dysfunctional person. So, anyways, that pretty much sums up the false self for you. I hope that gives you a clear idea of how this outer shell that's not the real person that you're seeing operates and the kind of things that they do. If I can answer any questions or you have any comments, please feel free to write me at delusiondispeller@gmail.com. Very soon I'll have a website up and running, so I'll be able to refer you there as well. So have a great day and stay tuned for the next series. God bless you. Bye.